All right, guys, I want to give you guys a message recap on the fruit of the Spirit of faithfulness. We talked about how the word is translated not as faithfulness. Most of the time it's actually translated as faith, and how we can look at faith, some faith anchor words that can actually anchor our faithfulness. And so I gave you 3 faith anchor words. The first one was assurance. And knowing those weighty things, that word actually means the kind of weightiness or sediment that goes to the bottom, that kind of as an anchor for us. And how we have to pre-decide the important weighty things of our life in the presence of God, not in the presence of problems or preferences. And that's one of the ways that our faithfulness is deepened, is once those weighty things are anchoring us into the things of God. The second faith word was allegiance, and how there's a difference between faithfulness and loyalty or allegiance level faithfulness, because you can be faithful in the task, but not in your heart and not in your allegiance. And so that loyalty level faithfulness is faithfulness in task and allegiance. And so our faith deepens whenever we understand those things, that allegiance part of it. And then the third one was the word accountability. And that's a word we really don't always like, but it's this idea that one of the things that keeps us in our faithfulness, in whatever it is, whether it's a job, a marriage, a church, or any of that stuff, is realizing that we are connected to something, or we belong to something that's bigger than ourselves. And it's not just all about us. Because if it's all about me and my preferences and what I want to do, it's easy to become unfaithful in a marriage. It's easy to become unfaithful in a church or at a job or even to God's calling in your life. But once you understand that I'm connected to something that's much bigger than me, then all of a sudden it draws us into faithfulness. We talked about Nehemiah and how he had to build the walls, and he had this plan to have everybody build the gate and that was in front of them. And really the hero of the story to me was Malchijah, who had the dung gate. He had a gate that nobody really wanted, but because he was connected to the bigger picture, he understood that if I do my part, that one of the things that kept him doing his part is understanding he was connected to a bigger picture. And so that faithfulness, God rewards faithfulness, and that God gives us and multiplies it as we're faithful in little, He'll make us faithful in much. And so the thing about faithfulness, though, is faithfulness, it's the faithfulness in private that leads to fruitfulness in public. And that season of unseen and the little things that we don't think matter usually are the big things that actually do matter. And that season of faithfulness in private is usually a lot longer than we think it should be. But God always gives us the opportunity, every single one of us, to be 100% faithful. And the reason we can be faithful, it's not based on how good we can be or how long we can last, but really it's about the faithfulness, knowing that we can be faithful because God is faithful. And so we can be faithful. God's faithful to us because He knows the end of the story. And sometimes we just want to know the outcome ourselves, and then I'll be faithful. But we don't have to know the outcome. All we have to know is that He knows the outcome. And then we can put our faith in His faithfulness towards us, knowing He's a good God that loves His kids. And as long as He knows, then I can keep walking. So that's faithfulness, the fruit of the Spirit. It was a fun topic, not always like the flashiest, but I believe it's a foundational topic. And once you really get a hold of it, it really can be fun to follow after God day after day after day in faithfulness, knowing that He's a faithful God.